couple of years back, I watched the Blue Period anime, and I thought it was okay. But recently, I started reading the manga, and this video is not about Blue Period. It is about um, something that it reminded me of. So, if you don't know, this is a manga about art. So, what I'm going to talk about is about teachers and the importance of teachers, of good teachers, and the detriment of bad teachers. And I'm going to start with the bad because it is it is what it reminded me of. So in 2018, I think it was, I was studying to become a language and literature teacher, and I dropped out of a month after a month. Um, I didn't drop out because of this. This is just a thing that happened. uh, I just had a bad teacher. This is an anecdote. Basically, she asks the first class. She's an art teacher, and she asks, "What makes something art?" um, at the time, I didn't really understand that, like the Jesus. I can't really speak. The purpose of the word art. So basically, right now I can point at the word art and just say that the word doesn't have a proper meaning. That's the problem with the word art. But and if we generalize, then we just have to say that everything is art. And if everything is art, then what even is the point of having a word for it? Whatever. I already spoke about this in my second blog, where basically I talk about the spirit, which is a liquid. Basically, because the word art has no purpose, it is emptied and it can be filled with the spirit, which is a thing. But that's besides the point. I didn't say anything like that back then. Back then, I used a more generic reason that I guess it is more understandable because words, like art, any word, it is we understand them because there is a consensus on what they mean, right? So, in everyday language, everyday conversation, if we say something like intuition, it is not the same as, Kant's intuition in like the Critique of Pure Reason. It's a different thing. It is the same word, but it means something different because they are used in different fields. And we arrive at those fields and those meanings because of a consensus of what the word means. That's how words work, basically. But back then, I was using a different type of approach, basically saying, well, if everyone has a different interpretation of what is and is an art, then that means that art must be, the property that makes something art is not evident within the piece, so it must exist outside of the piece. That was my reasoning back then when she asked that. And well, who else could have been the reasoning behind the art? That was quantifiable, right? That was possible to determine to be true. Well, it had to be the consensus. So I said to her, art is whatever the majority of people believe art to be, basically. And she said no. She didn't explain why she said no. And that's okay. That's okay, I didn't really care that much. I was a little upset that she didn't answer me, like, why not? But that's okay. Like, I didn't really care that much. And Then the thing that did piss me off was her answer. Basically, no one replied what she wanted to her to hear. So she had to reply to herself. Very good. And the answer she said was, art is when the artist puts a lot of effort into perfecting the work. That answer is fucking bullshit because you cannot quantify effort. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that a lot of people put a lot of effort in, and they are not considered art because they don't meet some kind of quota on like a technical level. So, and I'm sure that there are some prodigies out there who didn't give a fucking shit and just make something whatever the fuck, and they are like, yep, this is a piece of art, and everyone agrees. I'm sure those exist, and those by itself break whatever foundation the system she was trying to tell about whatever art is. So I disagree. I disagreed back then, and I disagree now. And the next class, she arrives and she starts talking uh, about how right-wing politicians use like symbols to to present themselves as God and so stuff like that. So basically, what I learned from this teacher, it was nothing. I didn't learn anything. I just learned about her politics and her opinions on like feminism and stuff like that. And I learned. Now I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I cannot say if this is true. Because a girl failed her class, and she said that she failed because she disagreed with the teacher's political views. I cannot say that that's the reason why it happened. Like it could have been like just her interpretation of things. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me because it was the kind of teacher that you just have to repeat whatever she says back at you, back at her, for her to approve you, right? And you know, if you say something that is not, then it is a no. It is not like that. So yeah, that was something. It made me very disillusioned about teaching, and you know, this is not the reason why I dropped out. Um, that would be crazy. I dropped out because I think I said right. I said because I didn't feel I didn't envision myself as a teacher. But yeah, I forgot what was I saying. So yeah, that's a bad experience I have with teacher. Yeah, it made me very disillusioned because I also thought of like the people who were going to basically survive her class by just repeating everything back at her, and you need to understand that um, it was a school that was teaching to teach. So that was the example of a teacher. If that is the example of a teacher that people will become, then that sucks. That's terrible. But whatever. I also wanted to talk about the good teachers I had. And, you know, the reason why I studied language and literature is because of a teacher as well. Um, when I was a child, the reason why I started writing is because of a teacher. So it was elementary school, and I didn't feel like making my summer homework, right? Summer break homework. So my dad would take me to a private teacher, and she would basically just tell me to do it. That was it. And one of those things that I had to do was write 2 stories, and she said she really liked them. You know, when you're a child and an adult tells you that they like something that you do, it makes you want to do it more. And it was not like I enjoyed reading or something like that. A lot of people, when they start writing, it's because they enjoyed reading, but I didn't. I didn't like reading at all. Instead, I just wanted to write. I wanted to write, not read. I had that idea for a long time. I just wanted to write, not read. Uh, but I eventually started reading as well because there's like a good amount of things to read, and it is good. And then, well, then there were like my friends. I showed my writing to my friends, and they also told me that it was good, and that's a reason, probably a very a very important reason for why I kept writing. Uh, but after that, as well, in like high school, I the last year of high school, my language and literature teacher, she came up to me and said, "I think I learned more from you than you probably learned from me." And that was nice. Like, she didn't really need to say that. I was not a child anymore, so it's not like when you're a child that they just say that it is good no matter how bad it is. So she could have just done the bare minimum and be like, yeah, you approve your test, you approved your test, so good luck with whatever you choose to do. No, she gave me praise and said, this thing you do is good. So yeah, you know, good teachers uh, really can really influence how you feel about things. I'm sure that, that teacher had a lot of students that didn't give a fuck, but she still cared about me. So it's a good thing. It's a good teacher, right? It's a good teacher. And despite it all, despite the fact that I dropped out of whatever of tertiary education, I should have kept going. So to end this video, I'm going to say the generic: you shouldn't drop out of school. keep keep going to school. Um, because it was so easy. Like I could have done it, you know. Yeah, it is true that there was a lot of bullshit in school and a lot of things I didn't agree with, but you know, I could have just kept going, and eventually I would have been over with. It would have been over with. But I guess I didn't feel like that at the time. But you should keep going. That's that's my message. Don't drop out of school. Keep studying or something. I don't know.